is Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John.
And I'm Richard.
You guys, you got to see what happens before we hit record.
Uh,
Maybe we'll let you look behind the curtain someday, but not today. How's your week, Richard?
my week has been going good. Now next
Okay.
week is a nice holiday week. I only have to work 3 days, so it's going to be great.
I know. Southern California, we just have to hide the cats from the constant explosions outside. They
Uh,
love their fireworks here, man. It's something else. But we're here with you. We've got an explosion of comic book talk. God. If you really can take much more of this, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods. Give us a like, hit subscribe. There's a reason to subscribe this week. We have our first giveaway for subscribers only. We'll tell you all about it in a few minutes. We've also got our underrated books of the week, viewer mail, and our hot book of the week. Richard, have you ever heard of this book?
I am not, sir. Proof number 1 from Image Comics back in 2007.
Yeah, this is a crazy one. It just kind of came out of nowhere this week.
Yeah, an FBI agent and her partner, Bigfoot, are on a mission to track down monsters.
Maybe you should read these sentences ahead of time.
I probably should.
Because you just hit that FBI agent and her partner Bigfoot, and you just like froze.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't get it, but hey, maybe it's going to be good. This apparently was optioned as a TV series by Fox. So
Well, we know what happens to options. How's that Department of Truth series coming?
yes,
How's that Stray Dogs cartoon coming along?
yeah.
Look at Bigfoot. He's holding like a femur. It is great.
There
What's
is
that?
this whole theme about woman and her big muscular beefy partner,
Savage
uh,
Dragon?
Savage Dragon. Yep, my underrated pick is also we'll get to that in a few minutes.
Shaquille
Uh,
O'Neal?
it does look like Shaquille does.
LeBron James. I'm just naming, big muscular guys with tiny female partners. That's all. Like it or not, raw copies of this are selling for as high as $45 on eBay. I can't imagine there's a lot of them out there. I don't think.
I
Uh,
can't see this being picked up by a lot of LCSs back in the day.
I mean, the creative team: Alexander Grecian, Riley Rose Rosmo. Anyone? Um, what do we think about books like this? I'm on the fence because this TV series speculation stuff kind of never works out. However, this is a low print run book. Walking Dead, anyone?
Yeah. I have become so gun shy with things like this from so many um option titles as you were talking about before. It seems like every interesting story gets optioned, but then those options expire or nothing is done with them, and I think they option it just to get additional buzz, and move other later issues in the series. I'm of the mind anymore. If it's a title I'm really interested in and it shows up as option, then yes, I'll buy it. If it's something like this I've never heard of before and it gets optioned, I will wait. I'm not going to pay $45 for it on eBay because next week it could be $35 or it could be $25 or they could the option can disappear and it could be back to $5 raw. You never know. And if I do decide to get interested in it, I'd rather buy one book at $70 because I waited than to buy 5 books at $45,
Mhm.
but then with hoping that something is going to come out of one of those books.
Flipping through a dollar bin, you come across it. No brainer,
No,
right?
right,
Yeah.
right.
What's your limit? I think my limit, if I saw this, would be like $10.
$10, I'd buy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, then we agree about that. One thing I don't agree about: the sale this week on Comic Connect
Mm.
of Giant Size X-Men number 9.9. Right?
Yeah, this book sold. This book has been in the news in one form or another ever since it got graded by CGC earlier this year. Came back a 9.9, which for this book, a book from the 70s, I, I, I am, and as someone who's held a number of copies of this with, miscut edges to it, the spine wrap being bad, all kinds of reasons for it not to get a high grade. For this one to actually get a 9.9, I just find it hard to believe.
It's sold for, strap yourselves in, $170,000. Now, this is Monday afternoon. We're way late compared to the other YouTubers covering this. We know that, but we have lives, we have things going on. I can't let this go by without commenting on it because I'm looking at the comments of the listing and it says it has perfect square bound spine. Now, we're in an age where we're asked to not believe things that we see for ourselves. Look at the spine, everyone. Do you see the big, bold black line going down off center? I sure do. Do
Yeah.
you see the color rub by Nightcrawler where the staple is underneath? I sure do. Do you see the slight bending at the top right corner? We've discussed this.
Yeah.
Who bought this book?
Yeah, I mean, as we say, and a lot of other YouTubers say, buy the book, not the grade. And looking at this, I don't, well, I know for a fact the book in this condition, even though it says 9.9, I would not pay $170,000 for.
Look at the back cover. There's dirt along the spine of the back cover. There's dirt on the scan. Turn it up. Look at it. Now, do I think it's a 9.8? Sure. Do I think it's a 9.9 in the new grading world where 9.6s are 9.8s? Cats are living with dogs. There's bedlam everywhere. Sure, maybe it's a 9.9. Okay, done ragging on CGC for this week. Let's
No,
move on.
I think it's justified. I'm sorry. I think it's justified.
Okay.
We can't have a sliding scale. If there's there's 98 degrees outside today, and then all of a sudden people said that it's 75 degrees and it's the same temperature, you can't have measurements alter because of outside parameters. And I think that that's what's occurring here. We're having this grading scale, which is supposed to be something that we can rely on as being consistent. It's being inconsistent, and I think we need to call that out.
Double plus good. Read George Orwell's 1984, everybody. If you've
We have
never read
always
it.
been at war with Eurasia. Yeah.
By the way, great soundtrack by Eurythmics, by the way. Plus
Oh,
good.
really?
Double
Oh, I
plus
forgot
good.
about that. Yeah.
Plus good. Double plus good. All right. Show and tell. You start because you have a little story to tell.
Yeah. A fan reached out to us to our Bronze and Modern Gods Gmail account and wanted to share with us. And I'm gonna read this message from him. I'm not gonna mention his name because I'm not sure if he wants us to call him out. But he says, "I just recently celebrated my 50th year of selling comics."
Oh my gosh.
That's congratulations. Being in
Until,
the
until you realize that's just 1974.
that's still that's still. I do the eBay thing and the local flea markets, but not much else these days. Not on Facebook, X, or Instagram. I'm a member of your show and have a hard time catching you live, but always see them after the fact. I was searching around my warehouse and came up with a few books I think both yourself and Richard might enjoy. And then he asked us if we have a PO box and a way of getting hold of us. Um, he says, I don't know. I know you don't promote for watchers to send free things to you, but it would be my pleasure. I assure you I have plenty more to go around.
Oh,
P.S. Love your Rock and Roll Jeopardy episode. For those who are members, we played John's um, entree into television, which was pretty cool. And even my wife is becoming a Bronze and Modern Gods fan. PSS, I am good friends with Bronzeville Comics. Thanks. Uh,
oh,
well, well, thank you very much. He reached out to us, and I want to stress We don't do this for people to give us things, but we do appreciate if someone feels the desire to send us something. We appreciate it, and we'll most likely mention it on the show unless you say not to. But he sent me a bunch of books, and they came in the mail yesterday, and they're great books. I really appreciate it. They're in excellent condition, and a lot of them are targeted to my specific peccadillos. Let's put
I'm
it that way.
jealous because I haven't gotten my box yet, by the way. So don't think I'm ignoring you, anonymous letter writer. I just haven't gotten mine yet.
This one, first one, I am not familiar with. John mentioned it when I showed him the pictures. It looks like a book that I would definitely be interested in, and it is Barbie Twins Adventures.
Look at that book. Now, did you look at the other side?
No, I did not. The back cover.
Yeah, take a look. Is it the back cover or is it the front cover?
Oh,
Surprises, surprises with the Barbie twins. Look at that. Is that Bruce Timm?
I do not think so.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a
Let's see.
Bruce Timm cover. Or is that a Chiodo cover? Oh, boy, it looks Bruce Timmish, doesn't it?
It
I don't know
has his
who.
kind of he has a certain or way he
And
draws.
that looks like Adam Hughes, but I don't think it is.
It does look very much like Adam Hughes.
Yeah, but now you have twice as many stories, twice as many thrills, and two covers. Twins.
That is awesome. I did not realize that. It does have two stories. The first story is printed this orientation, and then if you open it from the back, the second story is
That's what
printed
she said.
upside. I remember books. Do you remember books like this that
Oh,
that had two?
flip books.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Again, thank you very much. This is awesome.
I love it. Barbie twins. It's funny. Again, you guys, I hear me say this every week. It is absolutely true. Richard and I do not plan these things in advance with each other. But I came across, very luckily, a collection that had just a range of things. And this was in there. I've never seen physical copy of this book, but it's something I've always been interested in checking out. Uh, Broadway comics, The Powers That Be, featuring Fatale, another good girl
Hmm.
art, bad girl, the bad girl era of the mid 90s, which is when that Barbie twins came out. This is the same era. This was the company Jim Shooter started after Defiant, which was after Valiant. This was the third strike, I think, for him, where he was just like, okay, I'm done trying to start companies. Broadway Video, owned by Lorne Michaels, producer of SNL, started Broadway Comics with Jim Shooter. There's the logo and everything. The worst time to start a comic book company when the market was just cratering. This was probably their most famous character, Fatale, Bad Girl. My thing about this, it's Jim Shooter, who was editor in chief of the largest comic book company in the 80s, and he approved this cover treatment. Not so much the art, just the company logo being so big. There's no real, the logo for the series is up here. What's the thought here? Jim, come back on the show and explain this to me.
Yeah, the trade dress is quite weird on this.
It's not alone. This is how they all were. Here is another book called, Shadow State.
Mhm.
Of course, it's the mid 90s, so it's got to be foil. Fatale is in this as well, but there it is again, that same kind of trade dress. Were they trying to make themselves stand out on the racks? I don't know, but I mean, you can't even read the side. Can
Yeah,
you
it's
read
a
that?
no. It's that's your calling card, that cover, and to minimize the content and maximize the trade dress, like that's just
Dead space.
yeah.
All this dead space. So, Broadway comics, there might be a reason it failed. Let's just say
Yeah.
that. So, snap. What's your next? What's your next from your stash that you got?
This is another cool one. This is I am a big fan of J. Scott Campbell. This is Spider Gwen #9. It's one of his
Wow.
covers. Yes. Yeah, he draws basically the same. person with slightly different features.
John Byrne syndrome.
Yes, very much so, very much so. But it works. I mean, you can recognize this immediately as Gwen Stacy, Spider
It
Gwen.
looks like a store exclusive. Whose logo is that above the barcode?
This it is definitely it's comic exposure.
Okay, well,
So
there you
yeah,
go.
it's store exclusive for comic exposure. Good eye. I didn't catch that.
They ponied up for Jay Scott, man.
Yeah, and this is a nine. This is a 9A candidate. I'm thinking. I don't know. I had to look to see if Jay Scott's going to be at San Diego this year.
He usually has a booth.
Yeah, because I,
If
I I could see me taking some books in to have him sign to get graded.
nice. By the way, I got my badge. You got your badge this week, right?
Right.
Did
Yes,
you
I
guys
did.
get your badges? Did you guys get your badges yet? Let us know. We'll see you there. Richard, I got you a book. It's
Ooh.
for you. It's for you. Dun, 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 shatter. Dun, dun,
Shadoobie.
Shadooby. Shattered. For the podcast listeners who are wondering what the hell we're doing, is Shatter number one from First Comics. This was the first computerized comic made on it. Was it an Apple
Yeah.
IIc?
Yes, it was an apple. Yeah.
Look at that. Oh man.
Difference being this is before there were color max, so it's actually just a bitmap that they hand colored. It is an amazing piece of history. As far as the story and popularity, not so much, but I think for history's sake, it's a great book.
You know what the most impressive thing about this cover being done completely on the Apple is not the buildings, not the skyscrapers, not the fire escape, his pants and his legs. Because there's no, pixelation, and I have to wonder, did they cheat it a bit?
They
Uh,
probably cheated a bit. I bet you. I bet you they the bulk of the work was done on the Apple, but they did their own inking to make it fit better.
I mean, look at the face. You can tell the face is a bit, like blocks, and the hair is blocky, but yet the pants and the not so much.
And who would have
Uh,
known? Nowadays, so many comics are just done digitally. I mean, there are no more Bristol boards, and
Eric Larson still works on boards.
yeah, some people do, but you've got people who don't do that, who do everything digitally and submit digital art, and that's the way the market is nowadays. So to say this is one of the first pieces of computer art used in comics, I think is historic.
I will add it to your stack. Now, this is the Shatter Special. It was $1.75 color price, which is pretty high for First Comics back then. I think most First Comics were $1.25 or $1.50. So I don't know if they were charging a premium or what.
Yeah, and it's
But
one of those dystopian future stories where,
imagine that.
yeah,
But yeah, I saw that. I was like, Richard,
yeah. Thank you.
what's next?
Next is a book we've talked about on the show before, and it is in honor of. I've got my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles behind me here. This is Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters.
Say that three times fast.
Exactly. When TMNT is a parody of a number of different genres, this book is a parody of TMNT. It's the story is pretty forgettable, but you're going for the title here for this particular book. This is number one, and it's also a really, really, really sharp copy, 9698 candidate.
Is that from Clips?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think of all the Black and White Boom parody titles of a parody of a parody of a Xerox of a Xerox, that was one of the most readable ones. I think it was, believe, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, Don Chin drew and wrote that, and it was supposed to be actually pretty decent read. Go figure.
I remember that era because that was my sweet spot. I graduated from high school and I was going to my comic books, my LCS, my first LCS ever, and it was one of those books. I remember when the store owner handed me the second issue of Turtles because he couldn't get me the first one, and this it started this whole series of parodies like this and Boris and There's a number of things that parody them.
Oh,
Um,
Boris the Bear.
yeah, brings back memories.
Yeah. Uh, this is, you guys, we don't do enough Charlton love. I'm going to correct that now with House of Yang #1, the spin-off of Yang, their version of Master of Kung Fu, I guess. And it's more about the Sanho Kim art, Korean artist that did a lot of stuff for Charlton in the '70s. For Charlton, this is pretty well crafted, and it's a super high grade copy.
Right.
I like, she's like holding the poor guy by his ponytail.
Is that artwork in color?
It
It's
is. It is.
okay.
It's muted. Charlton, of course. I forget who it is that likes Charlton on the channel that challenges me every time I say they use the same printing press they used to print cereal boxes. Apparently, that might be an urban myth. I don't know. Are you sure?
I think they cheaped out on the color on that.
So there you go. Well, the reds, the logo, the reds and the yellows are pretty vibrant. It's just
Yeah, but those
they
are
had,
primary plates, right? You just have a yellow plate and a
yeah,
red plate, and then you don't have to pay for
exactly.
the other ones.
Whoever separated this cover did not spend a lot of time on the separation process. All right, what do you got?
My last one is another J. Scott Campbell cover. This is Black Cat #1. This is the
Wow.
Black Cat series from the Chat Noir cover, the famous cover that he did in that series. This was another. There were a bazillion covers for this Black Cat run, and J. Scott seemed to do all half of that zillion covers. So this is that nice milk bath cover. Great composition, I think, and it brings back memories of other J. Scott Campbell covers that he's done. But great cover.
No innuendo whatsoever with that bath. By the way, why is she in full costume in the bath?
It's a good question. Probably because of censors.
It doesn't make any sense. All right, well, that's show and tell for this week. You see more of this stuff if you're a member, because we do extra show and tell episodes on Wednesday, and we also have a live chat and show and tell on Thursday where members can come on and join us. It's $2.99 a month. You get those extra episodes. You get shout outs in future videos. A couple new names this week, Richard. There they
Oh,
are. And we want you to join. So just hit join. It's down there by subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on your podcast platform, just come over to YouTube and you can join that way and show your support for the show. We appreciate every single one of you subscribers and members, whether you're a member or not. Speaking of subscribers, 40% of you that watch this show regularly are not subscribers. What are you afraid of? What's going on? What's happening in your life that you just can't hit that button? We're going to help you. It's free. We have a contest, but I believe is this our first contest?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. This is definitely our first sponsored contest.
We've never had a contest like this before, I don't think. It's from our friends at Dynamite Comics. They're currently running a Kickstarter for, they're speaking to me, a deluxe Darkwing Duck graphic novel collection. These collections reprint not only the recent Dynamite series, but the original 1990s Disney Comics miniseries and the Darkwing Duck stories that were in Marvel's Disney Afternoon series. That Disney Afternoon comic series in the 90s, such a low print run, tough to find those. To celebrate, Dynamite's letting us give away a copy of the Darkwing Duck #1 facsimile edition, but this is the limited gold foil edition. Look at that foiliness, Richard.
Awesome. That is amazing.
To enter, it's so easy. All you have to do is be a subscriber to Bronze and Modern Gods here on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. If you're already a subscriber, you're already entered. We will pick a winner this week and we will announce the winner next Monday. You must be a subscriber because what we're going to do is we're going to go into YouTube's back end. We're going to download the subscribers. We're going to download the subscribers and do a randomizer and pick the winner that way. For the Darkwing Duck Kickstarter, check it out. It is great. There's a link in the description below. and you can see all that great stuff. And they're getting, it's like the last final hours of this Kickstarter, and you're so close to unlocking another level for contributors. So go check it out. And thank you, Dynamite Comics.
Absolutely. Kickstarters are a great way for people who want to have special ideas that may not fit into the normal publishing world to have the fans actually fund that particular comic. And this is a great idea to do Darkwing Duck.
And I stopped myself from seeing the DuckTales theme, so I get an extra credit for that. You guys can thank me in a segment we call Viewer Mail.
You've got
My
mail.
first piece of viewer mail. Oh, that was earlier, Richard. We just went to show and tell screen. We didn't do the magic fingers, but thank you for thinking of me. Alan Carr, Down Under. Good evening, John and Richard. Top show, gents. Always watching, just waiting for the incredible all gold key comic show. Space Family Robinson, Dr. Solar, Magnus, Robot Fighter, Turok, Son of Stone, way cool, and the cornerstones of the comic verse.
Yeah.
Enemy Ace was a huge favorite of mine, and I have a few nice trades on my shelf. I just love too many comics. Thankfully for us Aussies, my comic shop can be a lifeline. For Star Trek Stu, who was concerned in Australia because his LCS was closing, I am in complete agreement. Always read the movie books. Hope you get to find your Get Smart. We had a great comic shop in Newcastle, but just not enough people support him. Times are tough indeed, but we still have John and Richard. Hurrah. Cheers. Al, the gold key 4-color comic kid down under. Thank you, Alan. Always good to hear from you. What's your first piece of your mail?
My first piece is from Mark Vega. For the person inquiring about buying, investing in coverless comic books, I would recommend they put them up on the market and turn a profit the way they are. I'm sure someone has the other half of the book and will be willing to pay up on eBay. Yeah, I mean that's always an option. A coverless copy of X-Men #1 is still a copy of X-Men #1. So if you get it at a good price and you keep reasonable expectations what you're going to sell it for, absolutely buy it to flip, because there are people out there who may either want to put a facsimile cover on a comic and display it that way, or they want to marry an existing comic. Let's say they have a book that's trash, but the cover is in decent shape. They can marry that cover to that comic. They may not care that it's going to get a restored grade, and they just want that book. So absolutely, if you come across a coverless book and you can get it at a good price, definitely pick it up. Just avoid things like Adventure Comics from I'm thinking of early DC books that coverless are probably worth the paper they're, the cost of the recycling of the paper. I mean, it's a sad truth, but old Legion books just aren't worth picking up. But there are a number of other books out there that coverless can have a market, and I never say leave money on the table. if you see something, definitely take advantage of it.
If you love coverless comics so much, why don't you marry them?
I will.
All right. Geez, sorry guys. My next piece of viewer mail. There's a mention about Enemy Ace in Alan's email because we were talking about the first appearance of Enemy Ace in Our Army at War with the flaming question mark on the cover as opposed to a picture of the character. And Raph's Retro Comics, he told us that's how it's pronounced, Raph. I would love to own a copy of the flaming question mark. $300 seems awfully cheap for a book that's very tough and great. Agreed. Enemy Ace would also appear in backup stories of Unknown Soldier in the early 1980s. His stories in Star Spangled War Stories were great. I can't believe Normal Man made an appearance in an episode, Richard. Could Ms. Tree be next?
I love Miss Tree.
I love Ms. Tree.
Yeah, I have. And it's one of those stupid things where I didn't realize the play on words with her name until not that long ago. Yes, it's a sad thing about Normal Man. I bought that ash can of Normal Man #1 on eBay for $7.50. I was so excited to get it, and the guy canceled the. He said he couldn't find it and canceled the. It was frustrating. Very,
please, I couldn't find it. It sold too low.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Did you block him? Did you leave negative feedback?
Oh, I no, you can't. The way eBay's structured, if somebody cancels an order, you can't really leave negative feedback easily. Um, and it's no big deal. It was all of $10, $11 with shipping, and it's just not even worth expending any more of my time on.
Did he relist it?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I can definitely check, because if you
my,
realist it, then that all bets are off because I'm going
my,
to raise.
my, my spidey sense is tingling. Don't worry, everybody out there. I will be bitter for Richard.
John
Next week.
is good at being bitter. I appreciate that.
What is your next piece of viewer mail?
My next piece is from Lee Nyron. That copy of Normal Man reminds me very much of an old Twilight Zone episode where a man lands on what he believes to be Earth and ends up being becoming a zoo exhibit for the people on the planet. They all resemble different creatures, and he is the only one that is normal. This book sure sounds like a ripoff of that episode. What do you guys think? Am I off base? Well, I was curious about this, so I did some digging, the good old Wikipedia and Google. There's an episode of the Twilight Zone called "People Are Alike All Over," where there's a mission to Mars, it crash lands, and one man survives the crash, and he's taken in by a bunch of people, and it ends up he becomes a part of a zoo exhibit where he is a normal Earth person in his environment, and it's an interesting, just like all Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone is such a key, such a rich, fertile ground of ideas for comics. It's amazing, and movies too. I don't know if this is the origin of it, but I think the whole concept of someone being someone being important because they're different from everyone else. I think that concept may be something similar to this, but it's a good idea. And I love to hear what other people's thoughts on that particular episode. And I'm got a link to the Wikipedia article. I'm going to ask John to pop into the show notes for this issue or episode and check it out and see what you think.
Do you watch Twilight Zone episodes now?
I do not
It's a lot
anymore.
of. It's 5 minutes of a twist and setup, and like 20 minutes of filler. Man, they are a slog to get to. Like, oh, he's the last person on Earth, but he loves books and he's surrounded by books. Oh, he broke his glasses.
Yeah, a lot of those shows are hard to watch. I'm a big fan of Perry Mason, and I watch my wife and I watch Perry Mason quite often, and it's the same kind of thing, where you watch the first 5 minutes of the show, and then you
Yeah.
can watch the last 5 minutes of the show, and everything else in between is just filler. Sell
For
cigarettes, I'm sure.
for RuPaul's Drag Race, we call that skip it to the runway. Just skip to the runway. So you don't have to go through every 40 minutes of, I don't know if I can complete this challenge in time. It's so formulaic now. Did you watch Edge of Night? Speaking of Perry Mason,
I do not know what Edge of Night is.
remember Edge of Night? It was on CBS. It was a soap opera in the afternoon, and it was like it wasn't romance. It was crime. There were always mysteries. It was supposed to be like
No,
a daytime Perry Mason. My
no.
mom watched Edge of Night, and that
Oh,
was the one soap opera I would kind of like turn and look at like with one eye, like, oh, this is different. All right, we talked about independent comics a lot, and someone asked us, "Hey, what '80s indies would you recommend?" And of course, Richard and I go to our usual go tos: Love and Rockets, American Flag, etc. Tom May, our good friend Tom May, wrote in to say, "John, you ignorant slut." I'm going to go against the grain, though, and say flat out, I don't think Love and Rockets is a great place to start your investigation into indie comics. I
okay.
don't think it's as immediately accessible for folks as John and Richard seem to think it is. It's an award winning series for a reason, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I'd recommend it as your first indie read. If I were to initiate the newbie reader into the wonderful world of indie comics, I would start with Richard's other recommendation, Mage. In the '80s, Volume 1, the hero discovered was all we had and it was perfect. Matt Wagner had long teased that he would finish the Kevin Matchstick saga someday, but few of us believed him. Fortunately, now he has done it. Image Comics released 3 big, beautiful collections of Volumes 1, 2, and 3. Go check them out. Tom, I agree to a point. Love and Rockets, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. Mage
You,
is Mage is easier to digest. I could definitely see that.
yeah. Uh, I don't know if somebody would pick up issue 1 of Love and Rockets and be immediately turned off. I do think it's accessible. I don't think coming in at issue 24 with that classic cover, you bought it for that cover, and you're like, what's a Hopi? Why is Izzy swatting flies on the ceiling? Yeah. There I agree with you. Uh, so, what's your next piece of humor, man?
My next piece is from Xbox Gamer. I love the magnetic cases for Raw books. I have Veronica 37 in a newsstand in one, and Gargoyles issue 4 in a newsstand in another. We were talking about alternatives to CGC cases, things that you can slab yourself. And there's a company that sells these plastic cases that has a magnetic latch. So you put the comic inside, you split it in half, put the comic inside, put it together. The magnets will hold the case together. So
Hmm,
there's nothing that you need to do other than just put the book inside. And
that's
I've got a
cool.
I really should have pulled one because I've got a couple. I put my books in the bag and board into this thing, and it's great for displaying on the wall. Um, it's great for books that you want to keep nice but aren't high dollar books. It's also great to bring sketch covers to conventions, or if you buy a nice wall book for $40. Speaking of Archie, have you both seen the show Riverdale? It's the wildest CW show I've ever seen. Okay, so got to stop there. Wild CW show is a definite qualifier on it. I have seen a couple episodes of it, but I stopped watching it when uh, who was oh, I'm sorry. When there was an episode with Tom Swift, and I just stopped watching it. Too formulaic. I thought Oliver Queen becoming the Spectre was strange. Sorry, if you thought Oliver Queen becoming the Spectre was strange, like I did, the kids of Riverdale deal with everything from serial killers to organ harvesting cults. It's a cool twist on Archie, and I think we talked about Archie after Afterlife. An episode back, and it's another thing. The Archie mythos is pretty narrow. It's you've got Archie, you've got Jughead, Betty, Veronica, and you've got a few of the different people, and they all kind of stick into this lane of action. And the Afterlife series kind of took them out of that setting and gave them some more range in terms of what they could react to. And I think the positive for Riverdale is they reinterpreted all those characters in a different way, putting them in a different setting, and gave them the range to be able to do things that Archie and Betty and Veronica in the comic books would never do. So from that standpoint, I really appreciated the Riverdale series. But you know, on the other hand, everything that the CW does seems to fall into this. I don't know if they have writers' guides or whatever, but they all seem to follow the same playbook, and there's just a lack of depth for me. And I always find myself getting bored with CW shows. It includes things like Arrow. Um, the Flash was meh. So it's something to do with CW as a brand, I think. But like I said, I appreciate them for being able to break Archie and his gang into a different and out of the mold they normally stuck in.
There's a lot to unpack here, Xbox Gamer. First of all, Oliver Queen was the Spectre. I thought Hal Jordan was the Spectre. Did Oliver Queen become the Spectre too? First of all, neither one of them should be the Spectre. So yes, I agree. Strange. The wildest CW show I thought was Girlfriends. But
Never saw it.
my girlfriends. Sorry. Uh, Riverdale. I was promised Archie meets Twin Peaks. So
Mhm.
I was super excited. I watched the first episode and said, "Eh, bye." So I never watched it. Maybe I should give it another shot because I do like the Archie kids versus organ harvesting cults. That sounds like a book I would read or a show I would watch. So maybe I do need to give it another shot. But maybe in another 25 years when I'm retired and I have more time, it's that 25-year rule. There's a segue. 1999, 25-year rule.
Mhm.
The blank spot for me on this one. Superman versus the Terminator, Death to the Future from Dark Horse Comics.
I have never heard of this.
Superman versus the Terminator, issue one. Is this like, a 3-page flyer? Superman meets a Terminator, completely destroys him with his super strength, flies away, the end.
Yeah, it's an ash can.
Yeah. Apparently it ran 4 issues. This is the first issue of a 4-issue miniseries by Alan Grant and Steve Pugh. Looking at the covers of issue 2, 3, and 4, it looks to involve Supergirl as well. She's in this. Have you ever seen or heard of this?
I have never heard of this crossover at all. I am just totally intrigued to find out what the storyline for this, because you're right, Superman versus anything typically you think would end within the first 15 seconds. So how did this drag out to 4 issues?
Are they like Metallo? Are they powered by kryptonite? Who knows? Prices for this are all over the place. For just $2.69 for issue one on eBay, to $40 plus for a complete set on the Bay. There has been one lone CGC 9.8 sale, and that was this last February for $100.
Hmm.
Look at that action-packed cover. Superman standing surrounded by a bunch of Terminators.
But yeah, and I don't think I would be that worried if I was
No.
Superman.
What are they going to do to him? Scratch his back?
Yeah. I totally have to check this out just to see what the storyline is.
You guys tell us.
3 pages.
Yeah, you guys tell us if it was actually longer than 3 pages and if the other 3 issues were just blank notebook paper. While we move to our underrated books of the week, Richard, what another book? I'm like, what?
Yeah, this is interesting. This is The Final Revenge of Evil Ernie #1. Evil Ernie is one of those characters that always exists on the fringe of the comic horror scene. It's been around forever. But this isn't about him. This is about a comic book called Hack/Slash, which is kind of, if you think about it, it's kind of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Army of the Evil Dead. It's that kind of violent horror, but it's a lot more tongue in cheek than some of the more violent stuff. And this particular book introduces the two main protagonists in the Hack/Slash stories. Cassie, who hunts slashers, and slashers are a particular vicious type of undead that come about when somebody dies with an extreme anger and violence. Um, her mother was one. As a matter of fact, the first one she killed. It's another, read the story. And then Vlad, who is this big hulking person who's her backup. We talked about big hulking guy and his little partner. She's not so little in terms that she's got two big. She uses weapons, and she uses them.
Is she partnered with Bigfoot?
No, she's no Bigfoot
Oh.
is in sight.
Shaq?
No Shaq either.
Okay.
There's the Hack/Slash series ran for a while. I forgot to look up the total number of issues for it. This is their first appearance. They get their own title called Hack/Slash that runs, and there are a whole bunch. It runs on Devil's Due, which is a publisher. There are a whole bunch of spin-offs, a whole bunch of series based off this Hack/Slash concept, all starring Cassie and Vlad. There are a number of omnibus out there if you're interested in reading them. This plural omnibus.
Omnibuy? Omniboo?
They were talk. This seems to be like a great movie character. There's talk back in 2006 about making a movie, and of course, it went nowhere. There is a recent series out called Hack/Slash Back to School that just came out in 2003. I think that's still running. It's an interesting genre. If you like horror, if you like the more, if Evil Dead is something that you like, and you like that kind of horror slash, I don't want to call it comedy, but it's the lighter side of horror.
Yeah.
It's not something's killing the children in terms of dark. It's an interesting series, and like you said, there are omnibus all over the place. You can pick up. I'm sure you can find them in the $5 bins to read. Interesting story. This particular book isn't so valuable. A 9.8 sold last year for $25. So you can pick up a copy of this pretty easy. It's tough to, I picked this book as their first appearance, but it's tough because they are in a number of one shots, and I believe this is the first issue. As a matter of fact, if anyone knows that I'm wrong, please comment and let me know who Cassie and Vlad's first appearance, if it wasn't in this book.
All right, mine is nowhere near as controversial. In fact, it's kind of sweet. It is Amazing Man number 12 from DC Comics.
I love he has the Frank Miller dream. I love it.
He's reading Dark Knight Returns number 1, and he's dreaming of being with Carrie Kelly and Bruce Wayne in The Dark Knight Returns.
But Bruce
This
has got a smile on his face. Bruce never has a smile on his face.
See, Frank Miller wasn't all grim and gritty. Everybody, this is the last issue of this critically acclaimed but low-selling series from DC Comics. This was the last-ditch effort to boost sales with the Frank Miller Batman cover. This was at the height of Dark Knight Mania in 1986. I loved this book at the time. It was more like a Fantagraphics, like almost an underground comic. It was about a neighborhood and the people that lived in this building. And the Amazing Man was one of the tenants that lived in this apartment building that wore a superhero costume. Nobody knew why. Nobody questioned it. He did good deeds and helped out around the neighborhood. No superpowers, nothing like that. It was really challenging for mainstream comics to have something like this out there. It did not stop them. You used to be a hot book because of the Frank Miller connection rather. This was a bit of a collector's item at the time, low print run. People were trying to grab it, and it was selling for $5-6. You can still grab a high grade copy on eBay these days for about $4. I haven't read it since the original run, so I wonder if it holds up today. Yeah, never read Amazing Man, huh?
No, never read it.
That sound you hear in the distance, you hear that? That's our friend Evan, the DC guy, screaming, "I love Amazing Man." I can hear it. I mean, I can hear it before the live chat on Monday. I can hear it now. So, Evan, I'm with you. I love Amazing Man too. And on that note, we're going to wrap it up. Don't forget to hit the link in the description for the Darkwing Duck graphic novel collection Kickstarter. And don't forget to subscribe, and we will pick a winner for that number 1 facsimile gold foil limited edition. I mean, geez, all you got to do is hit subscribe and you get like an expensive book. Come on.
Yeah, please do. Support us and support Dynamite.
All right, we'll see you next time. Remember, see you Wednesday. Richard, have a good one.
You too, and everybody stay safe.